Marvin sir, you may start.
Good afternoon, Mario sir, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Shada. Good afternoon, teachers.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I hope you all are able to see my screen.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, the today's topic is value education and its significance. Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of value education? What is the meaning of value education? Anyone? Teachers, if you are not answering me, I'll take your name and you'll have to answer then. What is the meaning of value education?
Okay, wait.
I'm still waiting. Okay. Best of luck, teachers. See, value education is what? It's nothing new or something extra. It is just a very beginning that day by day it is just growing up what already exists. Okay, so let's start with the first slide. Value education setting the content. We live in difficult times when peace and human security are facing new challenges at the individual and global level. Education is a key dimension of the long term process of building peace, tolerance, justice, and intercultural understanding. The reorientation of education to create a better world is truly urgent. Living Values Education is a global endeavor dedicated to educating hearts as well as minds. Living Value Education provides an approach and tools to help people content with their own values and live them. During professional development workshops, educators are engaged in a process to empower them to create a caring, values based atmosphere in which young people are loved, valued, respected, understood, and safe. Educators are also asked to facilitate values activities about peace, respect, love, cooperation, happiness, honesty, humility, responsibility, simplicity, tolerance, freedom, and unity to engage students in exploring and choosing their own personal values while developing intrapersonal and interpersonal skills to live those values. Students soon become co creators of a culture of peace and respect. A value based learning community fosters positive relationships and quality education. The need for values and values education, the values of peace, love, respect, honesty, cooperation, and freedom create a social fabric of harmony and well being. What would you like schools to be like? What would you like the world to be like? Reflect for a moment on the school or world you would like. Can anyone who can answer this What will your imagination be if you want the schools to be in value education or the world to be? Come on, teachers. Who's going to answer me? Sangeeta Dubey teacher, Shri teacher, Shania teacher, Shilpa teacher, who is it? Sunil teacher, Teran sir, Ashok sir. See, if you're not answering, then it's a waste of time which I'm doing over here. I'm just wasting my time. Sad. Okay. Children and okay, Natasha, very good, Natasha. It provides a positive direction to the students to shape their future, helping them become more responsible and sensible. Very good, Natasha, teacher. Thank you. Children and youth grow toward their potential in quality learning environments with a culture of peace and respect. Relatively few young people have such a value based learning atmosphere. A culture of judging, blaming, and disrespect is often closer to the norm and is frequently mixed with varying levels of bullying, discrimination, social problems, and violence. The challenge of helping children and youth acquire values is no longer as simple as it was decades ago, when being a good role model and relating moral stories was usually sufficient. Violent movies and video games glorify violence and desensitize youth to the effect of such actions. Youth see people who display greed, ignorance, and negative behavior rewarded with administration and statute. Young people are increasingly affected by bullying, social problems, violence, and a lack of respect for each other, the world around them. Social media often negatively impacts teens who are already emotionally vulnerable. Cyberbullying and sexing have been linked to the increase in the suicide rate of preteens and teens. Marginalized and troubled young people rarely achieve their potential without quality education. Feelings of inadequacy, hurt, and anger often spiral downward and meaningless. Bullying, drug use, dropout rates, crime, suicide increase. As educators, facilitators, and parents, there are many things we can do to reserve this downward trend and create well being for young people and the world. As Astrolite said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. What we know about value education. Value education is not new or something extra. It is there from the new very beginning. It is only that day by day, it is just growing upon what already exists. So we are not building something new, we are just modifying what already is there. Now, value education are on different levels, like we have value education on national and state agendas. And it can be on different types. Values can be personalized, portalized, and constructed. Personalized learning is an educational approach that aims to customize learning for each student's strength, needs, skills, and interest. Potential, learning, and political socialization are two concepts in international relations and foreign policy that attempt to get at the conjugative and social dynamics present in the international system. It argues that there are prospective policies, frameworks, and implementation of ideas relating to the technique have become conflicted because of the constituted nature of the term. Value education can strengthen students' self-esteem and help students to exercise ethical judgment and social responsibility. What is new is progress towards a conscious, explicit, and planned approach to values education for all students in all schools. Value educations are challenging and a complex domain. There are questions over here: whose values, which values, what is the content of the value education curriculum, should values be taught in schools, what pedagogies can be used to teach values. One question I will ask, just answer in yes or no: should values be taught in schools?
Yes.
Should values be taught in school? Yes. Very good.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Very good. The domains of learning can be categorized as cognitive domain, that is knowledge, skills, and attitudes. These three things which we need to improve in the child. The categorization is best explained by the taxonomy of learning domains formulated by a group of researchers led by Benjamin Bloom along with in 1956. The domains of learning were the first developed and described Bloom along with between 1956 and 1972. Some references attribute all of the domains of Benjamin Bloom, which is simply not true. Which Bloom was involved in describing both the cognitive and the affective domains. He appeared as first author of the cognitive domain. As a result, this bore his name for years and was commonly known among educators as Bloom's taxonomy, even though his colleague, David, was a partner on the 1956 publication. We all know about Bloom's taxonomy. We are doing it in our daily lesson plans and teachings and everything. There is more than one type of learning. A committee of colleges led by Benjamin Bloom in 1956 identified three domains of educational activities: knowledge, attitude, and skills. Since the work was produced by higher education, the words tend to be a little bigger than we normally use. Domains can be thought as a categories. Trainers often refer to these three domains as knowledge, skills, and attitude. This taxonomy of learning behaviors can be thought of as the goals of the training process. That is, after the training session, the learner should have acquired new skills, knowledge, and attitudes. The committee also produced an elaborate complication for the conjugative affective domains, but none of the domain. The explanation for this oversight was that they have little experience in teaching manual skills within the college level. This complication divides the three domains into subdivisions, starting from the simplest behavior to the most complex. The divisions outlined are not absolute, and there are other systems of devised in the educational and training world. However, Bloom's taxonomy is easily understood and is probably the most widely applied one in use today. value education, explicit, implicit, school-based activity. The meaning of value-based value education is to teach universal values like moral values, patience, honesty, etc. to the students. The purpose of value education is the development of personality of the student. The children should develop in all dimensions so that they can serve the nation more democratic, socially and responsibly. The full development of children's personality in its physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects. Development of good manners and responsibility towards citizenship. The way of thinking and living should be developing at the democratic level, developing patience, honesty, moral values, etc. Especially in today's time, children are very impatient. They cannot be calm and all. They want everything very fast. They want to finish things very fast. They want means they want. Approaches. How do we approach? There are different ways to bring value education into a school and classroom. This article shares very with you approaches on how you to go out doing so. If you believe that value education is a must in today's world, but don't know how to go about it, then are three major approaches to value education: character education, moral education, which are usually globally and could give some ideas. The direct approach to teach values during planned value education classes. In this method, values are taught through planned structured lessons like any other subject. The lessons may be organized around specific values such as honesty, respect, trust, and responsibility, or could be organized to deal with a particular problem that the school is facing. The latter is generally more satisfying. If children are using abusive language or there is too much of bullying amongst them, then the lessons could be planned so as to address the problem at hand. Various activities like discussions, role plays, art, writing, debates, school-wide activities like surveys, drama, etc. could all be used to deal with the same issue. This approach is likely to be more satisfying because results are seen much faster and it gives the teachers a sense of achievement and the motivation to keep going. The integrated approach to integrated teaching of values with other subjects. The curriculum that is currently being taught provides numerous opportunities to involve students in thinking about characters and values. For instance, when reading a story in English, instead of asking some factual questions about the protagonist, you could always ask questions like, what were his strength and weakness? How did he deal with his dilemma? What do you think of his choices? What bothers you about the choices he made and why? What would you have done if you were in his or her shoes? Have you ever had to deal with a very difficult situation like this in your life? What did you do? How did it feel? Until unless we give them the live example with our daily day-to-day life, the kids won't understand. So we need to put these questions for them and make them easy. In history classes, students should not only learn about what happened, what should be given, an opportunity to make ethical judgments about it. History should not be just about dates and root memory, but about real people. The choices they made, how it affected other people, action taken, what they could have done differently. Integration with maths and science may be considered more difficult by most teachers, but even that is possible. To make it a school approach, there is no doubt that the best way to implement a value education program is through the holistic approach that integrates teaching of values into each and every aspect of school life. For this to happen, all the teachers and staff should be committed to the teaching of values and consider it as important as academics. Everything in the school should be centered on the development of good relationship between students, staff, parents, and the community at large. Social and emotional development should get as much importance as pure academics. Cooperation and personal excellence should have over competition. Values such as honesty, respect, compassion should be a part and parcel of daily lessons, and children, social service. Discipline should be democratic, and teachers and students should hold classes, meetings to establish norms of behavior, solve problem, and build unity. Each of these globally accepted approaches has its pros and cons. One could even start with a combination of these. Some exceptional teachers use the integrated approach and visionary principles, adopt the holistic approach. However, it is my contention for the apostolic approach. It is possible for each and every school to ensure that value education becomes an internal part of education, finally changing the very ethos of the school. Though it is impractical to expect that such a task be accomplished in few days, weeks, or months, we must make a beginning and work towards a goal that we hope to accomplish in the future. To do that, we could start off by using the one period of a week which we already have in hand and ensure that the time is used as effectively as possible. Soon, teachers will start using the same methods in their own subject classes. And finally, the whole school will adopt the holistic approach. What is the view of the world? Importance of value education in life. Education is critical in the life of a person. This will give you the success and a better future. The people who are educated can survive in the competitive world more precisely as compared to uneducated. Education gives you better living opportunities and good work. Here is the list of importance of value education. Education, the life of a person, makes the future better. Education is a backbone in the society. The perspective of a person changes, develops the moral values and patience, helps in understanding things better and more precisely. A whole school approach. Importance of value education in schools, character development, personality development, citizenship education, role and purpose of value education. When we come to character development, the value education helps the students to develop the character. This improves the inner personality of the student. The mental level also improves by this. Personality development. The value education helps the student to develop the inner and external personality of the student. The physical, social, mental personality will emerge to the student. Citizenship education includes the social, behavioral aspects of the students towards citizenship. The ethical values developed towards citizenship of the students. Good practice. The purpose of value education can be identifying in different aspects, various purpose of value education. to develop the child's personality in all possible aspects, to develop good moral values in the children, to develop thinking in a better aspects and a democratic way of living, to develop good citizenship and standard of living and the behavior of the child, to develop tolerance and a man make a kind person to the children. Pedagogies. Methods of teaching value education. There are different methodologies and teaching technology techniques for value education. Different methods for different value education. Classroom learning activities method. This method includes direct presentation, discussion, reading, listening, etc. taught by the teachers. Practical activity method. This method includes the practical description of the strategies, this practical knowledge and enhance the learning skills and life by doing practical by your own self. Socialized techniques includes the learner involved in the practical activities and experience which represent the functions, problems of agents in socialization. Incident learning method gives the study of an episode or experience in the life of an individual group. What is the need for value education in today's world? Moral awareness, shared values, plan value education, enhance thinking ability. Moral awareness should enhance the progress in science and technology towards the latest trends. Shared values enhances the traditional and social benefits of the person, which is essential for the nation to develop. Plan value education establishes formal learning as sometimes teachers pass values both consciously and unconsciously. There should be the encouragement of only conscious values. Enhance thinking ability. The value education enhances your thinking ability and the moral values. The mental, social thinking increases to enhance good value towards society. Where does value education fit in the curriculum? Today, every parent wants to give the best education to children, which is not just confined to the books, but it goes much beyond that. The parents look at the holistic development of their children as that is essential to edge in the global scenario. That is why parents focus on extracurricular activities and value education along with academics. And in today's time, when there is a huge crisis of moral values in society, value-based education proves out to be the solution. Though value-based education, we can develop the children into people with strong character and values who know how to utilize their knowledge for the advantage of mankind. Nelson Mandela rightly said, education is the most powerful weapon through which you can change the world. Here, he talked about both academic education as well as moral value education, and value education has the power to change the world. Education is a lifelong process of development of one's personality, which starts from the school. It is a school that builds the base for everything. That is why school plays a significant role in providing value-based education or moral education. Value-based education aims at the training the students to face the outer world with the right attitude and values. It is a process of overall personality development of a student. It includes character development, personality development, citizenship development, and spiritual development. Some people think that personality is an inborn character of a child, and it can never be developed or formed. However, this is not true. personality development sessions and a good school selection can be a radial change in the personality of a child. How many of you think that it is not necessary that it is inborn character? There are child whom the behavior was very bad, but we have changed the behavior of that child. How many of you all think yes, you all have done it? Every teacher must have done this. How many agree with me? I have done it. I've done it in my
Yes.
class.
So,
What about only one teacher was there? Again, you want me to take names? Teachers, come on.
yes, I agree.
Thank you, Shada. Teachers, Pravisha. Then I guess other teachers are not doing anything. Only teaching, homework. That's it. Okay. National values frameworks. Tehran, me too. Very good, Tehran. Thank you, brother. The National Framework for Value Education in Australian schools was developed from 2003, a national constellation of the draft framework. The national framework was agreed to and endorsed by all the state and territory ministries of the education and then distributed to all Australian schools in February 2005. The framework recognizes the value education policies and programs already in place in education authorities and Australian schools. It also recognized that there is a significant history of value education in the government and non-government schools, drawing on a range of philosophies, beliefs, and traditions. The National Framework for Values Education in Australian schools sets out a content underpinning vision for improved value education in Australian schools, 8 guiding principles to support schools in implementing value education, key elements, approaches, guidance to schools, implementing values education, and 9 values of Australian school that emerged from Australian school communities. Core values from Australian schooling: care and compassion, doing your best, fair go, freedom, honesty, trustworthiness, integrity, respect, responsibility, understanding, tolerance, and inclusion. In Australian school, value education policies and programs have existed in various forms in the past, but in recent years, the areas has received renewed attention since the publication of the National Framework for Value Education in Australia schools by the Australian government. The framework was developed from the National Values Education Study and the Australian National Goals for Schooling in the 21st Century. In this chapter, models of practice are explored, where schools implement value education in whole school approaches through their school ethos, classroom teaching, learning, co-curriculum programs, and through links to the wider community. In presenting the modules of practice, the intersection between the schools stated that implicit values and the synergies and tensions in this, their connections with the correct education policies are explored. Whose values, whose voices? How value-based education helps in attaining life goals? Value-based education is essential to develop an individual with help him or her lifelong in many ways. It gives a positive direction to the students to shape their future and even help them to know the purpose of their life. It teaches them the best way to live that can be beneficial to individual as well as the people around them. Value education also helps the students to become more and more responsible and sensible, helps them to understand the perspective of life in a better way and lead a successful life as a responsible citizen. It also helps students to develop a strong relationship with family and friends, develops the character and the personality of the students. Value education develops a positive view of life in the student's mind. The importance of personality development is essential to mold the child into a winning personality. It can bring a lot of changes in the attitude, perfection, behavior of a child. There are some points which I will discuss with you all. Is that the students become regular with their homework and class works. The students become more responsible for their behavior with the teachers and fellow students. They learn to cooperate with the teacher and follow students in every situation. They learn to handle every situation in class with maturity. The students become attentive in class. It develops a positive mind and a good attitude. They take their own decision without any hesitation. Value education creates a strong relationship between the students and teachers. Gaps in our knowledge. Approaches to engaged teaching and learning, like seminars, simulations, role playing, interactive online approaches, teaching materials and curriculum content, topics, types of materials, resources for faculty, motivating students, policy with ethical issues useful for raising awareness and engaging scientists in dual use problems. Preparing teachers, train the trainer, summer institutes, networks, including dual use issues in existing education or training programs like biosafety, responsible conduct of research, bioethics, developing models to foster and support education or training, Center of Excellence, regional networks, virtual networks, cleaning houses, promoting and sustaining dual use issues by scientific organizations, academics of science, scientific uniforms, engaging the scientific community in a dual use education, engaging faculty and institution leadership. Other gaps, there are how are we preparing the teachers to be value educators? How do we more effectively engage parents and communities in value education partnerships? How do we address value education in non-mainstream school contents? How do we report meaningfully on values learning outcomes? In practice, there are considerable overlap and continuity within the across the sessions in Warsaw. For this reason, the rest of this chapter is divided into sections that address three broad topics, and the ideas from any plenary or breakout session may appear under one or more of these headings. The three sections are educational materials and methods, with material defined broadly to include a variety of online resources. Implementing education about dual use issues, practical consideration including teacher, faculty development, implementation at different stages of education, and why existing programs such as biosafety or assessment and evaluation, and broader implementation issues such as financial resources and the roles of scientific organization, governments, international organizations. And last, related initiatives. Educational initiatives of the post-independence period have unequivocally included emphasis on value education. These are prominently included in recommendation of Kotari Commission, curriculum for 10-year school, a framework of 1975 National Policy of Education, 1986 with 1992 modification, National Curriculum Framework in 1988, and the recommendation of Parliamentary Standing Committee on Human Resources Development. 81st report on value-based education, that is in 1999, National Curriculum Framework for School Education 2000 have been observed that truth, rightness, conduct, peace, love, and non-violence are the core universal values that can become the foundation for building the value-based education program. These five universal values represent the 5 domains of human personality: intellectual, physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual, are collected with the 5 major objectives of education, namely knowledge, skill, balance, vision, and identity. The key qualities like regularity, punctuality, cleanliness, self-control, sense of duty, desire to serve, responsibility, enterprise, sensitivity to protection have been highlighted. The framework has proposed including all the nutrients of moral, ethical, and constitutional values, which we all need to accept it. And this comes to an end. Of the seminar. Obrusa. Thank you, Pravesh sir. Thank you, Neeta ma'am. Obro sir, are you there?
Mario, useful. Very
Thank you,
useful.
Shada teacher. Thank you, Shada teacher. Thank you, Khushbu teacher. Thank you, Anidita ma'am. Thank you, Raman sir. Thank you, Neelu. Thank you, Shania. Thank you, Varsha teacher. Thank you, Natasha teacher. Thank you, Rupali. Thank you, Sangeeta teacher. Thanks. Thank you, Lakshmi teacher, Manmi teacher. Thank you, Sujata teacher.